So love is it's a mystery. I think the wonderful thing about God is that actually there is this depth of God, isn't there, that we are continually seeking to find and understand God. God's, there is a verse in the Bible that talks about God being a mystery in many ways because he's so big and so love is a bit of a mystery. Love is this wonderful and joyful thing that we can know and experience, yet at times it's actually painful and heartbreaking. In many ways, love is life-giving, but there are times when love can cause us to feel shattered and life-breaking. We're all influenced by it. We all seek after it, yet not all of us find it or even want it. We can be scared of it. We can avoid it. We can spend our whole lives looking for it and then might even find it right under our noses. Love is a deep mystery, an unsolved mystery that we are forever searching for, the sort of the combination code to unlock the mysteries that lie within it. But on the other hand, love, there is this love that we all know, that we all experience. There's like a love valve, if you like, in each human being. We have this propensity to love and to be loved. Love is at the core of who we are. In John chapter 4, verse 16, it says that God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God and God in them. So this implies something that to know love is to know God. We are made to be people who love. In fact, the more we understand love, the more, I would argue, we understand and know God. And the more we begin to truly understand ourselves. Love is at the heart of every relationship, and love keeps us connected, keeps us human, keeps us, and it still gives us the value at the deepest level, whether we are Christians or not. Love gives us that sort of deep value and connection. So what is it? What is love? We've already looked at it a little bit already. Love is like connection with others. It's a two-way process. It's a process of giving love and receiving love. Both is of equal importance and equal value for love to really, truly function. Love is a being. It's a being, but when we're being patient, that is love. But it's also a doing. It also involves actually actively doing something. The passage in 1 Corinthians 13 tells us that love is about being what? Patient, kind. Love says it protects, it trusts, it hopes. Love perseveres. I'm sure we've all experienced how we've had to persevere. Love is the motivation. It makes us want to persevere because we love the person and we love the interactions that we want to show that. Love rejoices with the truth. And the 1 Corinthians passage also tells us what love is not. Love is not envious. It's not boastful. It's not proud. It's not dishonoring of others. Love is not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. I don't know about you, but I'm finding that there is a lot more people around me that seem angry all the time. People at work or people on the roads, particularly when I drive to work. I used to think it was just on the M25 stretch going to work, but it seems to be everywhere now. I drive and there's people that seem angry on the roads. Love is not easily angered. Love doesn't keep a record of wrongs. The reason I do that is because you mentioned it earlier. No, that's right. That's right. Yes. You exactly. I think love. Yes, I just wanted to clarify that. I think that love itself is really perfected within marriage. I mean, those of us in the room are married. you know, it actually gives us opportunity to grow in understanding what love is, because, you know, it just challenges us, doesn't it, to be like this within marriage. And that's the first step of learning about love. The second is when you have children, of course, because, you know, I think by nature we are all quite selfish. I know I am. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself. But actually, when you get married, you realize you have to compromise. You know, you have to lay things down in order to demonstrate your love for the other. And when you have children, you have to lay everything down. And again, you do it voluntarily because you love your children, and you want the best for them. And again, it's like you get to see that dimension of God's love for his children, don't you, when you have children of your own, and how much he laid down everything because of his love for us. Any questions? Any thoughts? We plow through
I would
life.
just say, it was with like when you have kids, I don't really feel like, obviously there's the odd moment, it didn't feel like a cost. Like, because you just love, and it's just an outflowing of that. So it didn't feel like I was losing all these other things. It just felt an overwhelming sense of more.
Yeah.
And that love was more. And maybe that's how it feels.
Yeah, that's really lovely. Thank you.
I think actually we could say the other day.
Hi guys.
How we can't imagine without each other.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
There we go. We got your chairs.
Yes. Sorry.
Brilliant. Yeah, I don't like that chair. It's Rachel. Yeah, it's good call. Good call. No, don't apologise. So we're just talking about love, and I'm just sort of making this a little bit more informal. So that, you know, a bit of, and we did one of these things again. So if you wanted to scan the QR code, you're very welcome to add to it. How would you describe love? That was just a few ideas that we suggested at the beginning. And sorry?
Come on, had you finished?
I'm finished.
Yeah. Just and we just talk about how love in marriage is a good way that we grow in understanding it, where we have to lay down some of our own agendas, or sort of we compromise in order to demonstrate that love for our husband or wives. And then talk about how children again is a way that, for me, it was a real cost because I'm quite selfish by nature, and sort of you sort of you recognise that more perhaps when you have children. And Abby was saying how actually it was actually she found it was more of an overflow of love that she was able to and Carmen's point, I can't remember. I'm so sorry.
I think it was like us reflecting on how we can imagine our lives.
Oh yes,
that's right.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes the thing is you sometimes forget what we impact.
Yeah.
Other people have in your life. You appreciate them.
Yeah, and I think that there is like this reservoir of love in all of us, which, you know, we understand more fully as a Christian because we know we are loved by God. And you know, and I think I've written here, love in its purest form is giving of yourself in a way that builds up, that restores, that revives, that grows human interactions, that produces life and fulfillment at the deepest level. I thought that was quite a nice way that I put that.
I like it too.
I think so, thanks. You know, love is this concept, this in its purity, it just keeps giving. And it keeps giving and giving and giving. And and then we keep receiving. So it's something which actually produces life. It produces, just this great sort of building up of people to be who God's created them to be. As Christians, we have received the truth that at the core of who we are, we're loved by God. And as we have taken that step of faith to believe that truth, we receive God's love. We put our hope in Christ's death and resurrection, and we've received it in our hearts. We've got this added sense of peace and confidence that we are loved by God, that we've received this agape love. And just wanted to, just for a couple of minutes, talk about 4 distinct Greek concepts of love, which can be found sort of in the Bible. And they are philia. Have we heard this before? Do we know these? Okay. So philia would be the love shown between friends. The storge love, which is the affection shown between family members, which is that's natural and protective. Eros, which is passionate and romantic love. And finally, agape love. And agape love is this highest and most sort of used word to describe love in the New Testament. So the agape love is the unconditional love of God, which he showed by sending his son to die on the cross for our sin. So for Christians, this is the pinnacle of love. It's like the absolute of love, that God would send his one and only son to die on the cross. That God would go to these great lengths to have a relationship with us. That, as we experience this love, as we begin to not just know this love, but actually understand it, we just, I think, are able to demonstrate that love to others. We're able to be those who can love others more and more. But love is not easy. To be loving or to receive love takes vulnerability. It takes courage, actually, and strength and God's grace. Now, C.S. Lewis wrote a book on these 4 loves that I just spoke about. And in this book, he wrote this. He said, to love at all is to be vulnerable. Love anything, and your heart will be wrung and possibly broken. If you want to make sure of keeping it intact, you must give it to no one, not even an animal. You must wrap it up carefully round with hobbies or little luxuries. Avoid all entanglements. Lock it up safe in the casket or coffin of your selfishness. But in that casket, safe, dark, motionless, and airless, it will change. It will not be broken, but it will become unbreakable, impenetrable, irredeemable. To love is to be vulnerable. So C.S. Lewis here, he would argue that vulnerability and love coexist. One cannot exist without the other. If vulnerability is the petri dish for love to flourish. The moment I take a risk, the moment I take courage and show love to Abby or to Tom or Noah, I step out, but actually I'm filled with joy at what I've done. When I get the opportunity to receive love from them, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so thankful. And again, I'm filled with great joy. It might be little things. It might be in, when I buy flowers for Abby, to see her face light up gives me joy. For Noah, the way to his heart is often food or sweets. And for Tom, I get him chocolates from time to time, and he's very thankful. So, you know, there are different ways that we can love each other, but also the people around us. I wonder what the giving and receiving of love looks like for you. In the verse 1 Corinthians 13, verse 13, it says that love is the greatest. It's not gifts, it's not prophecy, it's not faith. You know, it talks in that passage that even faith that moves mountains is nothing if we don't have love. You know, love is the secret ingredient that makes life just incredible, beautiful, and wonderful. When we see it, we really see it. You know, it's that moment in films, isn't it? Where the good guys, you know, beat the bad guys. You know, that moment when the lead character goes above and beyond to save the day. Often I am in tears in those moments. You know, it's the gospel message that we see in everyday life when people go above and beyond to love the people around them. You know, I love the musical Les Mis, and I must admit, I use this a lot in my illustrations, but I just wanted to share a little bit of the sort of dialogue with you, of a clip from the film. And it goes a bit like this. So the story unfolds where there's a convict, Jean Valjean. He finds himself at the bottom of the bottom, and the priest from the church finds him sleeping outside the church, and he has nothing. He has absolutely nothing. He's hungry and he's all alone. And the priest says to him, "Come inside, for you are weary, and the night is cold out here. Although our lives are very humble, what we have to share. There is wine here to revive you. There is bread to make you strong. There is a bed to rest till morning, and rest from pain and rest from wrong." Now, as you might realize, he's singing this at the time, but I'm not actually going to start singing. But then it goes on that while the priest sleeps, Jean Valjean steals all of the silver, and he runs off with the church silver. And late that night, he gets caught by the local police, and Jean Valjean is dragged back to the priest with all the silver that he's stolen. And the policeman says to the priest, "Monseigneur, we have your silver. We caught this man red-handed. He had the nerve to say that you gave him this." And this is what gets me, and I again watched it again, preparing for this, tears rolling down my face. "This is right. But my friend," speaking to Jean Valjean, "you left so early. Surely something slipped your mind. You forgot I gave these also. Would you leave the best behind?" And the priest turns around and he picks up the silver candelabras that are on the altar, and he gives them to Jean Valjean. And he says to the policeman, "Monsieur, release him. I commend you for your duty, and God's blessing go with you." So Jean Valjean, although he didn't deserve this level of mercy, in fact, he ran off and stole. He actively took the silver without any permission or he just went and left. He didn't show gratitude. He didn't say thank you for the food. If you see the film, he just stuffs his face with the food and the wine and doesn't even speak. He isn't thankful for the bed. He's done nothing to deserve any mercy or love. In fact, he did the complete opposite. He took from the one who is merciful. He takes more from the one who has shown him grace and love. And when it gets found out and presented to the priest, he deserves punishment. but the priest just lavishes love and mercy on him. More grace and mercy in the bucket loads. He doesn't just not pay for the price of his crime. He's forgiven. He's set free. But even then, he gets even more silver. See, it's like your picture earlier with the water. You know, the mercy of God is more abundant, more refreshing, more fulfilling than we ever realized. You know, and if you watch the film, in that moment, something happened to Jean Valjean. His heart had been changed. His ability to show grace and love to others reverberates through the film, through the production. You know, he grasped something of the love the love of God, which he'd seen through the priest. You know, Jean Valjean himself becomes an instrument of grace and love. The ripples of God's grace and love keep coming through Jean Valjean. And the same is true for you and me. You know, we are instruments of God's love to the measure by which we have received it, by which we know it. And my encouragement for us this morning is, you know, just grasp something fresh of God's love for us, of how much he loves us. You know, have we grasped the fullness of our forgiveness and the fullness of joy and peace that we can know because of Jesus? Sometimes I think we can try and fit God's love and into a small box of our own understanding, our own limitations and inner workings. But my encouragement today is to flip the whole thing on its head and begin to look at God's love as being this great fountain or great river. Excuse me. Imagine sort of swimming in a great river, a river that washes away all our fear, all our doubt, all our hurts, all our judgments. You know, I so often make judgments of people who are sort of driving around me. I mean, I drive a lot more now than I used to. And it's really hard to not make those judgments, to love the people who cut me up, who sort of drive really badly on the roads. You know, this great river washes away our judgments, our guilt, our shame, giving us that freedom to love the people around us. You know, or picture standing, if river's not your thing, standing in a wonderful great fountain where the water just runs over you and washes you clean. You know, this is what God's love does. It washes us clean. It's big, it's full, it's ever flowing, it's deep, it's wide, it's taller than the highest skyscraper and deeper than the submarine. Words of the song that the children used to sing. Wider than the universe. And for see, you know it, fantastic. You know, do the actions later. You know, I think sometimes we go to the river of God with this, and now I'm just going to do a little illustration for you. You need to choose the substance. Yes. Well.
I don't know.
Well, you're very welcome to, and I'll carry on while you're preparing yourself. So I wanted to just to this picture. Any thoughts or questions before I sort of launch into past 12? Okay, thanks. I was telling you my time's up. Okay, so I'll go through this picture quite quickly. That in Ezekiel 47, the prophet describes a river that flows from the temple, and that this is a river teeming with life. And that is really what God has for us in terms of his love. And sometimes we, I think, sort of think of God's love. Say this trough here is God's river. I know it's not quite flowing, but it's God's river. And I think sometimes we come to God and we like sort of fill up our little jam jar with water. And we think that that's God's love. That's enough for me. That's it, Lord. I'm right now. I've got my water, and we fill up this water, and you know, we might drink from it, and we obviously use it up quite quickly. I think that's what we do when we come to him. We just fill up our glass jam jar and that's it. And I think the encouragement I feel today is God wants to encourage us not just to fill up a little jam jar, not to fill up even a bigger jam jar, but actually to get in the river,